Good morning, everyone. We're going to start today's session with me, Martha Crago. I'm the Vice President Principal, Research and Innovation at McGill University. Es ist mir eine große Ehre, die Botschafterin Deutschlands in Canada, Frau Sparwasser, willkommen zu heißen. Germany's ambassador to Canada, Her Excellency Sabine Sparwasser, has had a wonderful diplomatic career serving in a variety of nations in a variety of capacities. And among other positions, she has been the ambassador and assistant deputy minister for Africa, Asia, Latin America, Near and Middle East in the Federal Foreign Office in Berlin, as well as the special representative for the federal government of Germany to Afghanistan and Pakistan. We're very fortunate to have her with us in the embassy in Ottawa and here today to speak to us at this launch of the HIBALL partnership. Frau Botschafterin, ich möchte Sie nun bitten, zu dieser wunderbaren Gruppe von Neurowissenschaftlern zu sprechen.
Martha, thank you so much for that warm welcome and for speaking perfect German. No wonder you're a linguist. It's wonderful. I am thrilled to be in this group, and I would only wish I could meet you all in person. This is a very eminent group, and this is a momentous occasion for all of us. When I prepared for today, I had a song go through my head, and it's a song of a poet and singer, André Heller. And his song says, Die wahren Abenteuer sind im Kopf und sind sie nicht in deinem Kopf, so sind sie nirgendwo. Translated, that means the real discoveries are in your head. And if they are not in your head, you won't find them anywhere. I thought that would be actually a fitting motto for HIBALL, a project that has set out to explore and understand this organ in our head. This organ of such unmatched complexity. HIBALL is the result of a very close and long-standing cooperation of the laboratories of scientific director Katrin Amunts from the Forschungszentrum Jülich and Alan Evans from McGill University in Montreal. Those two first developed the 20 micrometer BigBrain model, and that became the basis for the most comprehensive atlas of the brain to date. The new German-Canadian laboratory, HIBALL, will take this successful cooperation to the next level. Well, I do not need to tell you about your project. Rather, I would like to say what it means in today's political environment, in our bilateral relationship between Canada and between Germany. And I would like to say that HIBALL is a lighthouse. It is a lighthouse for what both of our countries stand for. And one of the things we stand for is excellence in research. And none of them better to represent that than Helmholtz, than Jülich, than SciFar, Mila, McGill University. These are all world-leading institutions, and they've also are world-leading in computational neuroscience. HIBALL is a lighthouse for fact and science-based innovation that brings our countries forward. Both Germany and Canada have invested themselves into becoming leaders in artificial intelligence. We all want to harvest the vast opportunities of the technology, but we want to be also mindful of the societal and ethical limits that we need. We want this science to be a global good. Both Canada and Germany sign up to this. Your model is shared worldwide, and users have access to all the data. This is a model also that we're trying to emulate now in the times of COVID-19, where we're trying to bring countries together to share data, because we know nobody's safe from it until everybody's safe from it. We all, Canada and Germany, have a belief in win-win. We have a belief in the benefits of cooperation, in the benefits of being multilateralist. And the German-Canadian Science Corporation has shown over now 15 years what outstanding results it can achieve. It's very complementary. It is the most dynamic part in our bilateral relation. We have hundreds of partnerships we have between institutions and universities, and such a net of connections by now that allows us to do a quantitative leap in the kind of cooperation that we want to have. And this goes especially today at a time when we need reliable and like-minded partners more than ever before. So I wish HIBALL many, many successful explorations of this fascinating and unknown continent in our heads. I thank you all, the world-leading experts who have conceived this project, for your huge contribution to science and knowledge and to our countries and mankind indeed. I hope that you will generate many, many exciting scientific findings and ever more cooperation between Canada and Germany. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabine. My name is Alan Evans. I am the co-director of HIBALL, and on behalf of Katrin Amunts, the other co-director from Jülich, I would like to welcome you all to the 4th BigBrain Workshop and this special meeting where we now are launching HIBALL for the first time. I will reappear later on in the program, so I won't dwell on my own role. For me right now, it falls to me to introduce Professor Otmar Wiestler. Professor Wiestler is president of the Helmholtz Association, which is essentially driving the Helmholtz Joint International Program, of which HIBALL is a recent example. Professor Wiestler is president of the Helmholtz Association since September 2015. He's the chair and chairman of the executive board and scientific director of the German Cancer Research Center. He received his doctorate in 1984 at the University of Freiburg and in pathology, and is now director of the Institute for Neuropathology at the University of Bonn. Over to you, Professor Wiestler.
Well, dear Alan, Katrin, dear Ambassador, liebe Frau Sparwasser, colleagues and friends from Montreal and Jülich. It's a great pleasure to participate in this opening session of the Helmholtz International Big Brain Analytics Learning Laboratory. Under somewhat unusual circumstances, I think we all would have preferred to meet in person for such a distinguished event, but this is what we have to do under these very special circumstances. It's great to see you all in this unusual video format. Now, HIBALL is one of 7 Helmholtz International Labs which we have established during the last couple of years based on a very simple philosophy. If a Helmholtz Center and a prominent foreign partner institution carry out groundbreaking research in a given area with a true long-term perspective, this grants a fantastic opportunity to us to establish a long-term partnership and also set up Helmholtz activities at the respective foreign partner institution. This is a rather new instrument which we only established 3 or 4 years ago. But it already turns out when we carefully select the partners, when world-class scientists are committed and enthusiastic about setting up such a partnership, they will be extremely successful. And I think HIBALL is a wonderful example along those lines, with a perfect sort of complementarity between McGill with all your strengths in neurosciences, but also in AI-based research, and of course the power of the Helmholtz Research Center in Jülich. These institutes are chosen in a rather competitive selection procedure, for which we usually involve highly distinguished international panels of experts. And a panel which was in charge of selecting HIBALL was truly enthusiastic about this joint venture. High quality, well thought out proposal based on over 20 years of experience, fantastic data, and innovative new insights have been some of the remarks by the colleagues. And what the panel also pointed out, and I think this is the most important factor for long-term success, the proposal includes some of the most talented investigators in the world in this area. What more can you ask for? HIBALL is yet another example for a very successful scientific relationship between the Helmholtz Association and a number of research institutions in your country, in Canada. This relationship was started about 10 years ago with a Helmholtz Alberta initiative, where colleagues from Calgary and from a number of Helmholtz research centers joined forces in two areas: in energy research, that was number one, and number two was biomedical, diabetes, among others. Now, there have been quite a number of delegation visits of Helmholtz scientists to Canada over the years. One or two I had the pleasure to participate in, and what we learned was truly remarkable. One of the lessons I learned is Canada is really the international focal point in AI-based research, something I didn't realize 10 years ago, but which is very obvious now. I vividly remember a meeting which I had with your principal, Suzanne Fortier, 2 or 3 years ago at a meeting of the World Economic Forum in China. And we spent an hour together over a cup of coffee and explored options for an interaction between McGill and the Helmholtz Association. And as far as I remember, among the most attractive potential options we discussed during this short personal meeting was the idea to propose a cooperation between the research center in Jülich and McGill University. And it's wonderful to see how this very crude idea at the time is materializing and can be implemented. I think we can be extremely optimistic that we establish something very special here. There's a lot of complementarity in the expertise between people on your side and the groups involved in Jülich. There's world-class technology involved. We have access to major international projects, the Human Brain Project being one example, which Katrin will probably mention in a minute. There's other prestigious Canadian partners in here, CIFAR or MILA, and I think this is exactly the combination we need to enter a new sort of area in AI-based neuroscience research. We can also build on a collaboration between McGill and the research center in Jülich, which has been going on for quite some time. This is also a very good sort of basis for long-term success. And I'm absolutely sure that we will be able to establish a world-class joint activity here in a very fascinating and highly attractive area towards a better understanding of the human brain. Since I was a neuropathologist in my previous professional life, I'm pretty close to some of the topics which you have on your agenda. Let me point out again that I really regret that it has not been possible to come to Montreal at this time of the year and have this event in a proper setting. But I'm very sure that there will be opportunities in the near future to visit. And I'm very much looking forward to the next opportunity to meet you all in person. Until this meeting will be possible again, let me congratulate you once again for setting up this a truly breathtaking new initiative. And I wish you all the success you deserve in this new endeavor. Please keep me updated about new developments and the progress you are making. All the best and take care in these truly unusual times.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, dear President, dear Otmar Wiestler from Berlin. And yes, we can promise for sure that we will keep you updated on this collaboration. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the next speaker to you, which is Martha Crago, which you have already met. It's the very beginning of this event. And Martha Crago is the Vice Principal of Research and Innovation at McGill, and she's chairing the board of directors of Healthy Brain for a Healthy Life, which is really a unique, powerful, and extremely important initiative in the field of health science that has a pioneering role and is an example for how can forces be joined in order to attack one really of the major burdens that we are facing in society. And she has also undergone an extremely exciting career, I would say. So she studied sociology and anthropology at McGill. She had a PhD in communication sciences and disorders. And I could assume that communication is still an issue, and it's very good that you have this professional basis for handling communication, you know. And she is also very close to my own research field in the sense that she was very much interested in language acquisition and language development, which in my view is an extremely important topic. There are, so to say, many children suffering from that, and this has consequences for their whole life. So this is perhaps a medical aspect, but the other is that when we want to better understand neuronal networks, also the way to understand how learning happens in artificial neuronal networks is interesting. So I'm really pleased to hear Martha also in this role, and I would like to hand over to you now.
Well, thank you very much, Katrin, and I'm delighted that I once met you in person. C'est un grand plaisir pour moi de vous souhaiter tous et toutes le bienvenue à l'Université McGill. Our university has great pride in its neuroscience community, and especially in this wonderful jewel that is now known in a brief term, the Neuro. It has both a hospital and a research institute. It was started by Wilder Penfield, and its illustrious past stretches from him to our amazing 100, if not 101-year-old Brenda Milner. And now we move into the future, into its presence, and its future, where neuroscience has become joined to modern technologies in big data and computational science, genomics, imaging, and AI, all of which come together in Canada's first research excellence funded project, Healthy Brains and Healthy Lives. We're very grateful to the Government of Canada for the funding of this project. And certainly the design of Canada's Excellent Funding Program was inspired by the German Excellence Program, if not a direct steal. The next chapter of the HIBALL partnership brings McGill neuroscience research into this wonderful new collaboration with one of Germany's greatest pillars of research, the Helmholtz Association, and the work being done at its Jülich Institute. So it's a great pleasure for us. But now I'm going to go off to the side a moment to talk about why this collaboration brings me personally such satisfaction. My own ties to Germany are profound. My Name is Martha Borgmann Crago. My great-grandparents came to Canada from Germany. I spent a memorable 4 days from August 10th to August 14th in 1961 in Berlin, where I watched the wall go up. I returned overnight for 24 hours in November 1989 to watch the wall fall. And I returned again in 2019 to the memorable conference called Falling Walls in Berlin that commemorated the 30th anniversary of the wall coming down. I spent several summers in Germany and a sabbatical year in a Max Planck Institute, and I helped at another university to create a very auspicious and productive Helmholtz connection. So you can see why this brings me personal pleasure, but the pleasure that I had, the impressions that I got from an early age that coursed throughout my life, I hope will be part of the ties that will be established for the students and for the researchers and professors working on this project. These contacts with people from other places and in other settings and doing science and supported by science that is underwritten by governments in different ways, stay with us for the rest of our lives. So in closing, ik overbringe nog einmal die herzlichen Grüße der Universität McGill. Beim nächsten Besuch, so hoffe ich, werden Sie persönlich anwesend sein. Bleiben Sie gesund, and it will be an even greater pleasure to meet you all in good health in person in the future.
Thank you very much, Martha. That was wonderful. It falls to me to introduce our next speaker, but I would like to note that Martha has been instrumental in driving this program that has ultimately culminated in this joint project, HIBALL. She was very keen to establish a Helmholtz Joint International Lab in Montreal. So thank you very much, Martha. Our next speaker is Professor Wolfgang Marquardt. Professor Marquardt is the CEO for the Forschungszentrum Jülich. He's been the chairman of the board of directors since 2014. He's also the vice president of the Helmholtz Association and the coordinator in the research field key technologies for that institution. Before in 1992, he was the chair of the process systems engineering at Aachen University. And right now he's director of the Center for Computational Engineering Science at Aachen. Professor Marquardt.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to contribute to this kickoff of HIBALL with a greeting to all of you on behalf of Forschungszentrum Jülich. A particular welcome to Otmar Wiestler, the president of the Helmholtz Association, Her Excellency Sabine Sparwasser, the German ambassador to Canada, Dr. Misera Lang, the Consul General in Montreal, Martha Crago, the Vice Principal of McGill University and the Chair of the Board of Directors of HBHL, Healthy Brains, Healthy Lives, Rémi Quirion, the Chief Scientist of Quebec, Pawel Swieboda, the CEO of eBrains, Katrin Amunts here from Jülich and Alan Evans, both of them the PIs of HIBALL. Jülich and in particular Katrin Amunts of the Institute of Neuroscience and Medicine, as well as Thomas Lippert of the Jülich Supercomputing Center, have been jointly active for a long period of time to link neuroscience and computing in a very integrative research approach. The primary objective is to generate insight into the function and dysfunction of the human brain by imaging and producing a brain atlas with very high resolution and to show the anatomy and the functionality of the brain on multiple scales. This research approach provides a lot of opportunities for cross-fertilization. On the one hand, computational tools are used for research in neuroscience, in brain research, and on the other hand, the insight of the function of the brain generates new motivation and new approaches for the research of future tools. Tools for artificial intelligence, for example, for new ways of learning in an algorithmic manner. HIBALL did not start out of the blue. There was a long-term collaboration between Jülich and McGill for more than 10 years, which got formalized in a first take in 2013 in a partnership which we called SMHB, Simulation and Modeling of the Human Brain, where McGill scientists and Jülich scientists joined forces already. This interaction was very productive. It produced not only publication, but it led to a complementary alignment of the research strategies. HIBALL and this initiative is a consequent extension of the previous collaboration efforts, and it fits very well the strategy of Forschungszentrum Jülich and Helmholtz in the area of information. The teams have been very well prepared to succeed in the Helmholtz competition in last October, and it was a pleasure for myself to be part of the team defending the proposal together with Katrin Amunts, Alan Evans, Blake Richards and Timo Dickscheid. I was really happy that we made it, that we got that proposal and can join forces in a longer term with a great perspective and a long-term vision. I'm sure that HIBALL will generate great results. It will generate visibility, reputation for both of the partners, and it will have significant side effects. Not only effects in the community, but side effects on data science and on artificial intelligence. I wish HIBALL a good success, great results, and in particular fun to all of you, the scientists who have to do the work and generate the research results. Thank you very much.
So it's my big pleasure now to introduce physically, as much as this is possible in this digital meeting, but to Rémi Quirion, who is the Chief Scientist of Quebec. This is a very important position. Rémi is sharing the board of directors of 3 funding research organizations of Quebec, and he is advisor to the Minister of Economic and Innovation on this field, on research and scientific development. By education, he is from pharmacology, and then he moved to psychiatry. He was very active in this field, and he has published an enormous amount of very high-ranking papers. So he is a true neuroscientist, and we are happy now that you are now serving in your new position science in a different way. And it is our pleasure, and we feel very honored that you participate in this opening today. Thank you very much, Rémi, for coming.
Oui, bon matin à tous. C'est un plaisir d'être avec vous. Real a pleasure to be with you. As was mentioned by others, it will have been fun to welcome you, a German colleague, to Montreal, but hopefully we'll be able to do that very soon. First, I'd like to congratulate the 2 teams in Jülich and at McGill, Katrin and Alan and their colleague, to have been able to win in a very, very highly competitive program. So we are very, very proud of you, and we look forward to the result. As was mentioned, as a neuroscientist, it's for my pleasure to see that one of the first Helmholtz Association lab in Quebec is in the field of brain research. And we really hope that by merging the knowledge in Jülich and at McGill, we'll find new way, come up with solution for disease of the brain, such as dementia, as well as mental illness. As was mentioned already by colleagues, long history of neuroscience research in Quebec, in Canada, and especially at McGill University with the Neuro. Major investment by the Quebec government, by the Canadian government in the field of big data and artificial intelligence. Now being able to merge these two areas make a lot of sense and should lead to new discovery in the field of neuroscience. I'm also very proud to be associated with the Helmholtz Association, and hopefully in the future, we'll be able to have more joint program between McGill and the association and between other universities in Quebec and the association. I was there, I was visiting you in January. It seemed like a century ago with the pandemic. I had the pleasure to meet with high-level administrator of the association. We discussed about opportunity for additional partnership. And at the end of the day, I had the pleasure to be invited by Otmar to attend the New Year's celebration and meet a lot of colleagues at that time. And we discussed with various scientists associated with your association that said we want to do more partnership with McGill. We want to do more partnership with Quebec and Canada. So if I can help in any ways, that would be my pleasure. And as was mentioned, I think, by Her Excellency at the beginning, with the pandemic, we need more and more of this international collaboration. We cannot close border. We have to open up, and I think what you will do in the context of the Jülich McGill HIBALL program is really the way forward in that sense, and we'll try to support you as much as we can. Félicitations.
Thank you very much, Rémi. Now falls to me to introduce Pawel Swieboda. Pawel is the Director General of the Human Brain Project and the CEO of the European eBrains High Performance Computing Network. He has a background in international relations from the London School of Economics. He's a member of a number of advisory boards on European think tanks, the Global Agenda Council on Europe and the World Economic Forum. He is most notably, I think worth pointing out, the EU advisor to the President of Poland. We are honored. So Pawel, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this invitation. I'm delighted to speak at today's workshop, which is co-organized by Jülich and McGill University. And it really makes me proud that the Jülich Center, that is one of the pillars of the Human Brain Project, has succeeded together with McGill in putting this workshop together. I think it's a great example of how international collaborations can move a needle in neuroscience. I also obviously have to say that the big brain data sets have been a great inspiration for so many neuroscientists around the world, and they also prove that international projects can produce something of great value to the entire community. I'm particularly happy that today's meeting coincides with the launch of the final phase of the Human Brain Project. We have 3 busy years ahead of us. We're also planning intensively our future post-HBP. And we have been through years of a fascinating journey spanning a number of areas from understanding cognition and consciousness onto neuromorphic computing and neurorobotics. So the Human Brain Project has been a very rich project in itself. And the next phase, the final phase, is special also in this way, that it will bring a sharpening of focus in our scientific work. We have in the past approached the different spatial and temporal scales through the state-of-the-art neuroinformatics, simulation, neuromorphic computing, neurorobotics platforms. This has now seen a lot of convergence. The atlases that Katrin Amunts in particular and the Jülich Center have done such a wonderful work on, they have been used extensively to perform multimodal analysis, and the results of that have been shared widely. I think in that work, I have to also say that the BigBrain dataset has been for us a landmark, and it has highlighted many of the challenges which neuroscience faces, from big data to the need to standardize. And these are common challenges, and we can only learn from dealing with them. So that's the scientific part of the next phase. But we also are building a research infrastructure called eBrains. That will be the legacy of the Human Brain Project. So it's a way of paying back to the scientific community for the privilege of having these 10 years of research work in Human Brain Projects. And our services in eBrains will be grouped in 6 categories: curated and shared data, brain atlas services, brain modeling and simulation, closed loop AI and robotics, medical brain activity, and finally the interactive workflows on HPC and NMC. Let me just say a couple of words about 2 or 3 principles which are behind our approach to that. And one of them, which is very close to our hearts, is co-design. And we want to shape this infrastructure in very close interaction with the researchers and with the scientists, integrating their feedback and developing the infrastructure as we go along. So no one has a silver bullet. It will be very much ongoing work, and progress will be achieved in close collaboration with the researchers. Secondly, this is very much a user-driven project. So we'll want to support the users of the eBrains infrastructure in various ways, through high-level support teams, for example, or the facility hubs through which people will gain access to physical infrastructure, or they will get other forms of support. We also very much count on partnering projects and international collaboration. So Human Brain Project in this last phase will be an open project, and I want to stress that. We want the eBrains infrastructure to be as responsive as possible to the actual needs of the research community, also internationally. So let me say at the end that the HIBALL workshop fits perfectly into that philosophy of openness and engagement. And I'm particularly happy and proud that the Jülich Center is one of the 2 co-founders and co-drivers of this particular project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pawel. It now falls to me to introduce my partner in crime, Katrin Amunts. This collaboration between my group and Katrin's group has lasted over 20 years. This is by no means a new initiative. It started as when we were all part of the International Consortium for Brain Mapping with our dear friend Carl Zillers, who sadly passed away this summer. When we started out on the BigBrain project, that was 10 years ago, I had no idea that it would rise to the level of prominence that it has. And I think it speaks very well to the mutual support between the two communities on both sides of the Atlantic. There are lots of personal linkages between our teams, and I think it is very much a model of collaborative science on a global scale. With that said, let me just introduce Katrin, her official titles, which are many. Katrin is the director of the Institute for Structural and Functional Organization of the Brain at Forschungszentrum Jülich. She's director of the Institute for Neuroscience and Medicine at Jülich. She's the director of the C&O Vogt Institute of Brain Research at the University Hospital in Düsseldorf. She's the scientific research director and chair of the Human Brain Project Science and Infrastructure Board. And she's the vice chair of the German Ethics Council. Katrin.
Thank you very much, Alan, for kindly introducing me. And it's of course my big pleasure, and I feel really honored and very proud that we came together today in order to celebrate the opening of the International Big Brain Analytics and Learning Laboratory. And although it is not a new thing of, so to say, in our collaboration, it brings it to a new level in my view. And it strengthens in a significant way the many connections that Alan and me have for a long time. And indeed, we started in the 90s with the International Consortium for Brain Mapping. And here we developed the concept together with our colleagues from the US, from France, from Denmark, of a multimodal brain atlas. And these discussions that were really very fruitful and intensive all the time, we came up with the idea of the Big Brain project and started it perhaps 2003, I would say. And it was very clear from the beginning that for solving problems that we have at the technology and method side for creating a big brain, we need high performance computing, and we took advantage of the strong computer power that we had at Compute Canada and later also in Jülich at Europa. So in 2014, after 10 years of collaboration, indeed, we were able to publish the Big Brain model, which was the first ultra high resolution 3D brain model. And this was one of the most visible technologies at that time, one of the 10 breakthrough technologies. And we were really happy about the attention that we received. But it was really a 10 years work, and without the continuous support from Helmholtz Association, from McGill, from other funding organizations, we would not have been able, of course, to achieve this aim. And then later, we used the Helmholtz portfolio theme, supercomputing and modeling for the human brain, about which Wolfgang Marquardt spoke, as another way to intensify our collaboration, because this Helmholtz collaborative framework had the possibility to include partners from outside, and McGill and Alan's lab was the most natural choice, of course, to include him into this endeavor. A little bit later, the Big Brain became a reference template in the Human Brain Project, which means that many types of data that are at the microscopical level are being registered and presented in the space of the Big Brain. So the Big Brain was not anymore just an anatomical model, it became more and more a scaffold and has been populated by more and more scientific data. And the launch of McGill's Healthy Brain for Healthy Life initiative, of course, was a further push towards this collaboration, because it allowed to very systematically develop long-lasting research plans at McGill's side, but also with respect to the collaboration. Last year, we had a physical meeting in Düsseldorf, the BigBrain Workshop 2019, where we saw many colleagues coming from our countries, from whole Europe and the world. And we are really now happy that we are now launching HIBALL. And HIBALL is the start of a new way of collaboration. And what this has to do with the train, I'm sure Alan Evans will explain a little bit later in his talk. So why do we want further work on the big brain when we already have it? Well, one of the reasons is that this big brain model, which is an anatomical model of cells and distribution of cells of a human brain, this is really a lot, so to say, a lot of information, a lot of data. And on the left side, you see a very small region of interest of about 3 by 3 millimeter. And if you imagine that this is only one section out of 7,000, then you can get the feeling of how the complexity is of this big brain project. And of course, if you want to map all the different brain regions and nuclei that are responsible for certain functions, then we need to apply and develop, therefore, automated methods for brain mapping. And AI is key in this endeavor. And we have already used AI, deep learning in particular, machine learning, in order to develop models of cortical layers. Just recently, the work by Otmar Wiestler came out, which is a collaborative work between Ellen's lab and my lab. And on the left hand, you can see how we together develop very high resolution maps of brain areas in the big brain space, which is part of the human brain atlas. So here immediately also it becomes clear how important is this type of collaboration, because the challenges that we have at a methodical ground with respect to the size of data, with respect to the complexity, they are huge. And this can be also illustrated here. So when we think about how to further develop, we of course would like, first of all, to go to a level where the big brain or new big brains will have registered every single cell in the brain. And if you remember that there are 86 billion of nerve cells, this is of course a huge endeavor. And I think it's not less challenging than flying to the moon, or perhaps even flying to the Mars. So we need a strong collaboration to achieve our aims. And that means also that in addition to cells, we have to consider many other modalities that are aspects of brain organization. For example, the axonal architecture, the fiber architecture of the human brain that we want to bring in through polarized light imaging, also receptor architecture, where we are analyzing human brains with respect to transmitter receptors, and this developed was of course very much pushed and developed by Carl Zillis and is now represented by Nicola Palomero. So when we're going to go to the cellular big brain, then that means that we have to go to 1 micron isotopic resolution. 1 micron isotopic resolution means that for one single brain we need 2 to 3 petabytes. And you see here one of the first examples how we have reconstructed these very large histological brain sections to a level where we can recognize single cells in the 3-dimensional space, and we use sophisticated methods including machine learning, traditional image analysis, and deep learning in order to come up with this reconstruction. So in order to integrate these different types of data, having in mind this ultra high resolution big brain, then that means we have to come up with a software platform with web-based access, because there are several thousand kilometers between us. And it's really challenging to develop ways how to exchange information, how to provide access to viewers in a smooth way so that people can analyze their data, integrate data, and make advantage of the strengths of both sides. So in addition to these technological constraints, we of course need space to meet, to exchange, to collaborate in Montreal, Jülich, and other places. And we are happy that this has now really a regular dimension, and every year we have BigBrain workshops, and we have a growing community of BigBrain friends. So our aim is to build a sustainable and long-term collaboration based on this long-term institutional support that we are receiving from Healthy Brain for Healthy Life, from the Helmholtz Association, but that we also are receiving through collaboration with other important consortia, and the Human Brain Project is one of it, but there's also CCC, there's a collaboration with China, Cuba, and Canada, or the Global Brain Consortium, the IDI, to name only a few of them. So our idea is that with our little initiative, our lab helps to build bridges between Jülich and McGill, bridges between the different global players in the world of neuroscience, AI, and computing, bridging the different cultures between neuroscientists, technology developers, informaticists, and also bridging topics that are most important and relevant for our society in the field of mental health, of neurological disorders, of applications that we see now coming up with COVID and other medical applications, but also going to technology. And that is a large group of researchers, and I show you only here the leaders of the different work packages that we have brought together to solve different aspects and lead activities in different fields in our HIBALL consortium, supported very much by Paul, Jean Toussaint, and Susanne Wenzel, whom I would like to thank already now for making this meeting possible and organizing it so well. And now it's really my big pleasure and my honor to hand over to my dear friend and long-lasting collaborator, Alan Evans, the co-director of this endeavor. And I'm very optimistic that from this collaboration, we can extend to other important places. And thanks to Alan, we are now in close partnership with CIFAR, with Miller, or with the Montreal Neurological Institute Hospital. So Alan, please move on and introduce HIBALL in more detail to our guests.
So it falls to me to wrap up the introductory remarks. And it's always tough to follow Katrin, who gives wonderful talks. And I think the important point for me to make is still that we have a huge community of multi-layered interactions amongst our scientists on the two sides. So just on the big brain alone, it's a 10-year collaborative effort. The core paper is 400 citations, and Big Brain has been established as a reference space for the Human Brain Project. I'm delighted to discuss the complementarity of our two universes. In Jülich, we have people who are expert in whole brain histology and cytoarchitecture, 3D architecture of axons, high throughput microscopic imaging, complex HPC-based workflows, brain mapping, human brain atlas information, and the eBrain's HPC infrastructure analytics connected to Europe. But in Montreal, on the other hand, we have a broad and deep neuroscience community. We have a global center for artificial intelligence in Montreal. We have high-throughput data analytics. We have the C-Brain worldwide HPC network. We have a long tradition of brain mapping and neuroinformatics, human brain atlases and templates, and 3D visualization tools. We put all of these tools together, and the origins of the Big Brain are that Katrin's lab did the wet work and my lab did the dry work. We put the brains back together again after Katrin had sectioned them into 7,000 slices. And I do have to acknowledge the work done by Claude Lepage and Lindsay Lewis in my lab, who spent many years stitching the data back together again. I'm going to not speak too much about HIBALL, since Katrin has summarized most of it. I thought I would talk a little bit about the Healthy Brains for Healthy Lives initiative, which is providing a lot of scientific and financial support to the HIBALL program. HBHL, as it is known to us, is a major initiative of the Canada First Research Excellence Fund. But it's not alone. In the Montreal scene, we also have the Evado Big Data artificial intelligence initiative at the University of Montreal. And our colleagues in Ontario had BrainScan also have a major CFREF award in brain research and complementary science that complements what we do in Montreal. So those three together constitute $250 million of investment in Canada in related areas to brain neuroscience and AI. Healthy Brains for Healthy Lives is made up of 4 major themes: a core neuroinformatics and modeling theme, which subserves 3 application domains in neurodegenerative disease, population neuroscience, neurodevelopment, and cognitive neuroscience and brain plasticity. HBHL has 10 core facilities. NeuroHub there is the major computational infrastructural core, but there are many other cores related to animal imaging, animal platforms, genetics, high field neuroscience research registry, and animal resources. Over the last 3 years, Healthy Brains for Healthy Lives has supported 126 lead investigators, approaching 150 graduate students, and a lot of resources across the campus and our related partners. Research outputs include 147 publications, 150 knowledge mobilization activities, and 30 technical outputs, and 5 inventions. But it's not just about McGill. Quebec is a hotbed of artificial intelligence and neuroscience interactions, and the unique Unifying Neuroscience and Artificial Intelligence in Quebec network is funded. It brings together many different institutions engaged in neuroscience and AI. Unique has 7 university partners, 3 CFREF initiative partners, and many related linkages such as MyTax, which supports many students across Quebec. Unique is made up of 4 themes with over 80 researchers. The 4 themes specific are in perception and control, higher order cognition, learning, and networks. And it's worth noting that the theme leaders for the 4 themes are made up of an AI co-leader and a neuro co-leader, made up from different universities, with McGill and UDM heavily represented, as you see. Joshua Bengio there as theme leader for Core 2 gave just a moment ago this week, the Talarac lecture for the Organization for Human Brain Mapping Conference that was originally to be held in Montreal, but was now an e-conference, obviously, and he spoke about the applications of AI in neuroscience. An important aspect of HIBALL is the promotion of early career researchers, and I'll just mention 2 examples of the kinds of things that are going on within HIBALL. Conrad Wagstill is a good example of a trainee who came to my lab from Cambridge. He then worked with Hannah Spitzer at Jülich to work on layer extraction of from the human cortex of the big brain. This was done in collaboration with MILA, the Quebec Institute for Machine Learning, where Blake Richards is a co-applicant, co-researcher. And that's a good example of an interaction between the 2 universities and our wider partnerships. On the right-hand side, you'll see Nicola Palomero, who worked very closely with Carl Zillos for many years on the chemoarchitecture of the human brain using autoradiography information. Thomas Funk in my lab, and now moved to Jülich, did a lot of work to take that raw autoradiography information and turn it into 20 3D neurotransmitter, neuroreceptor maps, which we hope will be a significant part of the work that we do within HIBALL, informing our building of brain-inspired artificial intelligence networks. I'm now going to close with a couple of comments, what we've already heard many times, to restate that the joint vision of HIBALL is to use AI and high performance technology to build highly detailed next generation 3D brain models, to build a transatlantic interoperable platform for data exchange and collaboration linked to the North American and European brain initiatives, and engage international communities in imaging, AI, and brain simulation to advance neuroscience. As Katrin mentioned, HIBALL. Well, apart from the obvious alcoholic connotations, HIBALL is also a train signal indicating a clear track ahead, indicating the possibility to proceed at full speed. And I can't think of a better motif for HIBALL. I will now show a short video which does the best that we can do to have a formal inauguration of the HIBALL lab in Montreal. Of course, we would much prefer to have had you all there in person to have a group photograph, but under the COVID circumstances, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Hello, my name is Alan Evans. I am the Scientific Director for McGill's Healthy Brains for Healthy Lives Initiative, or HBHL, funded by the Canada First Research Excellence Fund, or CFREF. This is an exciting time for brain research as we witness the impact of the information revolution in neuroscience. Applications of big data analytics, artificial intelligence in neuroscience are everywhere. Montreal has long been a world capital for brain research and has now become arguably the global center of gravity for deep learning. Major CFREF funding to McGill and the University de Montreal in these areas has brought in a whole new generation of data scientists to work at the interface between these two fields. The Jülich Forschungszentrum in Germany is one of the largest research centers in the world and hosts a huge community of researchers in many fields, including supercomputing and neuroscience. Katrin Amunts' team at Jülich and my team at McGill have been working together for over 20 years, most notably on the BigBrain project to create the highest 3D resolution digital brain atlas so far created, equivalent in size to 125,000 MRI volumes. With support from the Helmholtz Association, McGill's Healthy Brains for Healthy Lives initiative, and the Jülich Forschungszentrum, we are delighted to take the next step in this journey by inaugurating the Helmholtz International Laboratory, HIBALL, here at the Montreal Neurological Institute, now known as the Neuro. HIBALL will bring together experts in clinical and basic neuroscience, artificial intelligence, image processing, and computational modeling to explore the brain using in silico simulation of brain network organization. HIBALL will provide a unique international research and training environment for the bright young stars of tomorrow. As co-director of HIBALL with Katrin, it is a pleasure to officially inaugurate the HIBALL Laboratory. I cannot wait to get started on the science.